Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Boss Labs. My name is Chuy Gutierrez and today we are in Premiere Pro again, and today I am talking about something that I use just about every day that I'm editing and that I rarely talk about, and that is keyframes. I use keyframes all the time within Premiere Pro to do various things, so today I figured I'd just kind of walk you through the most basic way to use keyframes within Premiere Pro, and that is to show you with a scaling effect. So what I've done here is I have a quick little timeline and I've imported a quick logo that my brother made for our studio, right? So we're just gonna pop that guy into the timeline. And let's go ahead and extend this for, well, that's a long time. Let's go ahead and extend this for maybe, I don't know, 10 seconds or so right there, and we'll remove that. Cool, so if we play it back, all we see is the logo. There's no movement, it's just a static logo on black, nothing major going on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to scale it using keyframes. So if we go over here to our effects controls panel, we can see that here it says scale and that it is at 100%. So if we scale it up or down, we see our logo getting smaller, bigger, all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and redo it. We're at 100. So if we scale it down, so say we go to 69% here, we click play, it's just going to stay at that scale. There's no movement, there's nothing happening, there's no keyframes at all yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a keyframe here at 69%. We're going to go ahead and click this button here that looks like a little stopwatch. It says toggle animation when you hover over it. And as you can see right here, a keyframe has been placed. A single keyframe won't do much of anything. If you just let it play, it's going to just stay at that scale, whatever you set it to. So what we do next is we set a second keyframe. So let's say we want to get back to 100%. What you're going to see here is once I click enter, we're going to see a second keyframe appear right where my playhead is. And there it is. And now, as you can see, our logo has scaled to that 100%. So if I go back and play, so before the keyframe, nothing should happen. It's going to stay at the 69% that we had before. But once it enters this little area right here, you're going to see it go from 69% to 100% in that time period. You can see the logo is scaling forward, giving us that kind of zoom in, and then it stops. So if we want this to go from the beginning of the clip to the end, we just extend our keyframes. So this one out here to the very beginning of the clip, and this one over here to the very end of the clip. So now we click return to start from the beginning, and we see this slow push in on our logo. Now, if we want it to go faster, we just have to move the keyframes closer to each other. So if we do this, now click play, it's zooming in faster, because what we're telling Premiere is between these two keyframes, I want you to go from point A to point B, and we're saying we want you to scale from 69 to 100. So the shorter that time distance between the two keyframes is, the faster it'll scale, right? Let's cut that again. Quick zoom in. You can make it as fast or as slow as you'd like, and you can do this with a bunch of different effects within Premiere Pro. If you're doing a blur or some sort of wipe, you can add keyframes to those effects. So what we can do here also to show you on a different keyframe or multiple keyframes happening at the same time is, let's go ahead and, before we do that, let's make this, I don't know, like 120. Right, so it's gonna go from here to here. Let's say I want it in 5 seconds, right? So we'll go to 5 seconds and we'll move the keyframe. So we're saying we want you to go from 69 to 100 in the first 5 seconds of this clip. We click enter and we see it scale, right? So let's go ahead and add a rotation to it. So here in our effects panel, we also already have rotation. So we'll go ahead and add a keyframe at the beginning of the clip, and let's line it up with our other keyframe. And there it is. And we're gonna rotate it. Let's say we want it to rotate 3 times. So as you can see here, it's letting us know how many times we're rotating. So let's go to 360 for the third time. And there we go. So now we have 2 keyframes, 2 sets of keyframes, right? We have one for scale and we have one for rotation. So what should happen is our Boss Labs character, a little icon here, should be scaling from 69 to 100, and it should be rotating 3 full turns before we get to 5 seconds. So there's 1, there is 2, and there is 3, and stop. And that is the power of keyframes. You can do this with a blur. We can add a blur on top of this. If we go here, we go search blur, we'll add a Gaussian blur to our clip here. And let's make sure that's selected. Here it is. So if we want it to start off as a blur. So let's go ahead and reset the rotation. I kind of want to get rid of these keyframes. I don't want it spinning. So we'll click the little stopwatch here. It'll ask if we want to delete the keyframes. We say okay, keyframes are gone. So if we go down here to Gaussian blur, I kind of want it to start off as a blur. So we're going to go ahead and add a keyframe here. And then let's find where the other keyframe is or so. Or you know what? I'd rather it come from blurriness to unblurriness halfway between the full zoom in, right? Or maybe 75%, around there. So around second, let's do like 3.5. I want it to, I guess, unblur itself, right? Right before we get to 100%. So there we are at blur 0. We go to the beginning of the clip and let's blur this up. So let's go ahead and do a quite significant blur. Now we can see that our Boss Labs logo is just, you can't almost tell what it is unless you knew what it was beforehand. So let's go ahead and play this. So as we're seeing over time is we're doing this kind of rack focus effect with keyframes. I'll play that again and you can look at the keyframes here, right? So it's going from blur to unblurred and then it finishes its movement and it stops. You can extend this a little further out if you want to mess with that. If you want that blur to take longer, if you want it to go past the scale effect, then you can just move your keyframe past it and see what happens. So there's really no limit to what you can do with keyframes, and you can make this as simple as you want, as complicated as you want with different effects. And if you want to take a next step, is working in After Effects with keyframes becomes a whole different ball game. My brother creates graphics and things with a bunch of keyframes constantly, sends them my way, and I always find a way to mess it up because it just becomes this huge screen of nothing but keyframes. But keep in mind, it can be as simple as a scale effect like I showed you at the beginning of this video, and it can get as complicated as stacking different effects, adding different keyframes to have them do different things, to have them move across the screen in different ways. If we want to keyframe the position of our logo, we can do this top one here. Say, I want you to move out of the screen. We can do that. It's just gonna add a keyframe and then it's moving and it's done. And I don't know if you can hear it, there's a little bit of excitement in my voice because it just is a lot of fun to mess with keyframes, to kind of add a little bit of dynamic movement to your graphics, to your videos, in a really simple, easy, and efficient manner that will have your client kind of in awe sometimes of a simple graphic move, and they'll keep coming back for more. And as they keep coming back for more, you can experiment with different ways of moving your objects or keyframing your effects. So that's going to do it for us here today. I hope this helped in some way, shape, or form. And if you like the content, please subscribe to our channel. We have plenty more tutorials that are on the way, just like this. And if you like this video in particular, give us a like. So we'll see you next week, and we hope you have a wonderful day.